Folks, going into this offseason, we said it. The Lakers had maybe the biggest and most important offseason out of any team in the league. And they did a lot of things. They traded a lot of picks and gave out a lot of money. Was it worth it? That's what we're going to talk about on today's Silent Report. Folks, if you like this type of content, make sure you like the video. It goes such a long way in spreading this out to the NBA algorithm where I'm trying to take it over and conquer it, okay? You know, I've been really inspired lately by the World Cup, watching France and Spain. Spain dominate France. My England, the Three Lions, losing today, unfortunately, heartbreaker to Argentina. But I was watching Kylian Mbappe, and I remember something Kylian Mbappe said. He said, "What's your favorite team?" And he said, and I quote, "The Lakers." And then they said, "Who do you think's going to win?" He said, "Well, of course, I'm going to say the Lakers." And it had me thinking about the Lakers. And I said, you know what? They've had such a busy offseason. They have had so much roster turnover. Let me really dive deep into it and think about it. Because some days I wake up and I think about the Lakers offseason and I'm like, this is a D to an F. This for so many different reasons doesn't check enough boxes. But then some days I wake up and I think, I kind of see the vision that Rob Pelinka, aka the Robber, is going for. And in fact, this video would not be complete without the patented Rob Pelinka leather jacket, which I now have on my body. Okay, so let's kind of dive deep into this because my opinions go all over the place. And I do think I'm landing on this offseason being somewhere around the C range as a grade for the Lakers, even though I like a good bit of their moves, just because the all-in risk that there is, it's a little bit scary. It's enough to be scared. Before we get into it, I want you to leave a comment. What do you think about this Lakers offseason? I know some of you guys hate whenever I talk about the Lakers. I don't care. What do you want me to do? Sit here in silence? You cannot silence me. The fact that they put together a 53-win season and won a playoff round, I thought was a success because full transparency, I did not think they were going to be a very good basketball team last year. I thought their offseason last year was disastrous. I did not think they did enough to improve their roster around Luka Dončić, but the pieces that they did add, mainly Marcus Smart, were such big hits, and Luka had such an incredible second half of the season. Austin Reeves had such an incredible first half of the season, and it all kind of combined to form a rock-solid offense that just won basketball games, and JJ Redick did enough. And even with all of that being said, I think we're all in agreement that they just needed to do more. This was not a team that was close enough to contending for a championship. Luka Dončić will be 28 years old by the time the next postseason starts. It has to be an all-in effort. Now, the funny thing is, they go into this offseason, huge roster overhaul. This was their starting lineup from game one of that series against the Houston Rockets. Luke Kennard, Marcus Smart, Rui Hachimura, LeBron James, DeAndre Ayton. Every single one of these players is on a new team this year. All of them left in free agency, and it's going to be interesting to see how the Lakers replace this. The Luke Kennard trade worked way better than I thought it would whenever it happened, just because Luke Kennard, yeah, he shoots 40%. He's a 40% three-point shooter. The guy's a pussy and never shoots them, okay? I'm just being honest with you. If I was capable of shooting threes like that, I'd shoot a million of them. That's just I've always wondered this. You know what? I've always kind of wondered this. This is a bit of we're taking a different path here right now. I've always sort of thought if I was fast, I would just run. I'm not a very fast guy. Most of my athleticism comes in balance and in just raw, pure strength. I've never been a fast runner. I always thought, looking at fast people with my fast friends, just if I could run fast, I would just run. It seems so fun to be able to run. I would just be sprinting places for fun. If I was as good of a three-point shooter as Luke Kennard, I'd just be shooting them all the time. I'd shoot 100 of them a day. I'd just roll out of bed and go shoot 103 just to see them go in, just so I could have feel some type of power over my life and over the predicament in which I find myself in. So even though I was just kind of a little meh on this trade, it ended up working out really well. I mean, the Lakers offensively looked damn near unstoppable when Luke Kennard was on the floor with Luka Dončić. And obviously Luka Dončić was hurt before the postseason starts, but Luke Kennard comes out in that series against the Rockets and damn near wins them the first couple games of the series. And it's a big reason why they ended up winning that series. So his departure hurts. It stings. It's not some end-all be-all thing. It doesn't just completely and totally derail your entire offseason. But losing him for nothing to the Suns for $6 million a year, that kind of sucks because you have to replace that. Rui's such an interesting player because a guy his size Very frustrating with the rebounding, very frustrating with the defense. But I mean, the guy shot 90% from three in the playoffs. I don't remember, it was like 53% from three. It was some absolutely absurd shit. That shooting next to Luka is obviously incredibly valuable. Now, I will say this. I don't mind you deciding that you're not going to pay Rui Hachimura. I don't think that's necessarily a terrible front office move, right? And him going to the Clippers is just kind of a bizarre. Earlier today, I was like, yeah, Rui Hachimura on the Spurs. Because for so long, I was like, Rui to the Spurs makes sense. Rui to the Spurs makes sense. And in my brain, I'm like, yeah, he went there, right? And I'm like, no, he went to the Clippers. That's like bizarre. What's happening? Are they even going to be a franchise in the next couple months? Who knows? They're Kawhi Leonard is Groot. What the fuck's going on there? I have no idea. You also lost DeAndre Ayton this offseason. But obviously the two big ones, you lose Marcus Smart. This one really kind of stings because he goes to the Rockets for what, $6 million a year? Such a small contract for a player who was so incredibly valuable for you. And then the big one, LeBron James, obviously we don't know as of the time I'm recording this, where LeBron James is going to end up, but we know it's not going to be back on the Los Angeles Lakers, which kind of sucks because LeBron James is Kylian Mbappe's favorite player. And as he said, of course I'm going to say the Lakers, but he actually would fit this team so well. Like this group that the Lakers have now put together, ironically makes a ton of sense with LeBron James in the center of it as your forward. But he's gone. He's out of there. Who knows what was going on behind the scenes? Who knows where he ends up? And there, of course, has been so much dialogue about these stats right here, more particularly this one right here. The Luka and Austin Reeves combination last year without LeBron James on the floor had a plus 14 net rating. And you see this get brought up all the time by Lakers fans and by people who say they needed to cut bait. What was that? My face just got so bright there. Did you see? I guess I'm making such a good point. That they need to cut bait with LeBron James and just get rid of him entirely. Here is my ginormous pushback against that. Be careful what you wish for. LeBron James is 41, soon to be 42 years old. Yeah, maybe Rich Paul having a podcast saying that they should trade Austin Reeves for Jaren Jackson Jr. in the middle of the fucking season is incredibly bizarre. I agree with that. So maybe it's like, hey, let's put the car keys in the hands of the 27-year-old super duper star that we traded peanuts for a couple years ago. And let's just ride with that. We don't want the LeBron James thing anymore. We don't want to cater our entire franchise to him. Totally fair. Where I would say, just be careful, constantly flaunting this number right here is, please don't forget about this one. LeBron James last season, 486 minutes when he was on the floor without Austin Reeves and without Luka Dončić were a plus 12. And not only that, this 41-year-old Peepaw pretty much carried your, hospital team. Your team was so injured. There would have been zero shame at all if the Lakers lost in round one to the Rockets because of how injured they were. Of course, the Rockets were an absolute embarrassment. JJ Redick coached circles around Ime Udoka. I mean, that was one of the most impressively coached series I've seen in quite some time. JJ Redick deserves a ton of praise. And LeBron James carried the team, obviously with Marcus Smart playing great and Luke Kennard playing great, to a playoff series win. And was great in the postseason. So I just say, be a little bit careful what you wish for. I understand that the LeBron thing maybe went on a little bit too long, okay? But he still was incredibly important. And bringing this back a little bit to Marcus Smart, to me, this was like the most painful loss of the offseason for the Lakers. We kind of knew the LeBron James stuff was coming to an end soon, but man, I was critical of the Marcus Smart move last offseason because I just didn't think he was healthy enough, right? He proved me wrong. He played a lot of minutes this year, and he was fucking fantastic. Marcus Smart was so good, and that Luka and Reeves combination was unlocked by Marcus Smart's ability to pick up players, his ability to play, defend, point of attack, to just wreak havoc defensively, and kind of run the offense from time to time. You see, the Luka Reeves without Marcus Smart still is good. Don't get me wrong, but it really was Marcus Smart that helped unlock this in a lot of ways. Okay, so it was a heavy amount of turnover this offseason for the Lakers. Is what they did enough? Where I kind of had my light bulb flicks on moment with this Lakers offseason and where I kind of came around to it just a tiny bit, and I started to understand what they were doing, is that they are fundamentally changing the way that they play. Right? Obviously, they are building their team around Luka, which is what they should be doing. He's a 28-year-old top 3 player in the entire planet, right? He is absolutely good enough to carry you to a championship. Build your team around him. We've seen teams kind of go the direction of like, we're not going to build towards a certain style. We're just going to put a lot of guys who can play skill ball. right? We're just going to have a bunch of guys who can play and work well together, and that's how we're going to work. We're just going to go get the best basketball players possible. The Lakers just didn't have that much optionality. So what they decided to do was we're just going to go all in, build a team a certain way around Luka Dončić. What's that direction? Right here. Right here. The Lakers were third worst in the league when it came to offensive rebounding a season ago. On top of that, they were a bottom half team defensively. That's not going to cut it to win a championship. We kind of know that, right? Historically speaking, you have to be a top 10 defense if you want any real chance of winning a championship. I think there's only been 2 or 3 outlier seasons in the history of the league. They were a below average rebounding team defensively. They were below average at letting opponents get to the rim. And then the worst part about that is they were second worst in the league when it came to defending the rim. DeAndre Ayton, ladies and gentlemen. DeAndre Ayton. He stinks. Bring in Walker Kessler, the big offseason addition for the Los Angeles Lakers, paying him around $35 million a year. That's a contract that, in a vacuum, I think is fine. They said that they wanted to go get an A-list center for Luka Dončić. I don't think I'd put Walker Kessler in the A-list of centers. I don't know. I don't even know how many of those guys exist, though, to be totally fair to him. But he is a very good center who's young and fits into this timeline. Where we start to run into problems is they pretty much move their chips all in here on this move. It was 2 unprotected first, 2 pick swaps. They now only have 1 pick at their disposal to move, and it's a pick swap. So this is where things start to get a little bit complicated, but you understand why they made the move, because Walker Kessler excels at all of the things I said the Lakers were pretty trash at last year. He's one of the best offensive rebounders in the entire sport. You see that stat right there, rebound right there. That just means how much of an influence, positive influence or negative, you have on your team's offensive rebounding whenever you're on the floor. You see for Kessler, it's incredibly positive. It's one of the biggest swings in the entire NBA. You see that protecting the rim, he's one of the best that there is in terms of blocking shots and protecting the rim. We just mentioned that the Lakers were second worst in the league at protecting the rim a season ago. I also want to bring up the Kevon Looney contract, which you might overlook because probably has been a couple years since Kevon Looney's been a real major impact on a team. However, he's still a rock solid basketball player, in my opinion. And yeah, I feel like maybe you could do a little bit better as a backup big, assuming that is the role for him. And it's not going to be Mamu, who we'll talk about here more in a bit. But for Kevon Looney, the one thing that he still does incredibly well, and this is over the past 3 seasons here for Kevon Looney, is he rebounds the fuck out of the basketball, especially on the offensive end. So as you can start to see, there is a clear philosophy shift here at play for the Los Angeles Lakers. We're going to rebound. We're going to rebound the basketball a lot on the offensive end. We're going to let Luka Dončić and Austin Reeves put up 18 threes a game combined. And we're probably going to put up, around 40 threes a game as a team. And we're going to collect a lot of offensive rebounds off of those misses. And this is one of the most efficient plays in the entire league. That is grabbing offensive rebounds, kicking out the shooters, bomb threes, get offensive rebounds, kick out the shooters. Ask the Boston Celtics how that works out for them. We also recognize our team has a major weakness when it comes to staying in front of players on drives. That's just the truth, right? And we're probably not going to fix that, at least in one offseason. And also protecting shots at the rim. So we're going to bring in one of the best shot blockers in the entire league. You put 2 and 2 together, and you start to see why they felt Walker Kessler could be the missing piece for them. Because he does sort of check a good amount of boxes. He's going to block shots. He's going to grab rebounds. It all starts to make sense. Now, would I have given up this haul for him? No, I would not have. And this incredible Twitter thread here by Tip Off Ball kind of dives into this Kessler trade and why it might be, a little bit spooky considering just how much they gave up, right? And the reason being, Walker Kessler offensively is pretty bad. And the idea that Luka can turn any pick and roll big into a good pick and roll player, I think has some merit to it, but I don't know how true it is, right? Because DeAndre Ayton last year, you watch him, and if you watch DeAndre Ayton and Luka Dončić at all in their career prior to last year, you said, DeAndre Ayton doesn't make any sense next to Luka. He's not the type of pick and roll big that Luka likes. He likes Dwight Powell. He likes Jackson Hayes, funny enough. He likes Daniel Gafford. He likes Derek Lively, guys who set really hard screens, roll well to the rim, and importantly, can play make pretty well. This is where Walker Kessler, the problems start to arise, because Walker Kessler turns the ball over like a fucking madman. Okay, he does for a big in short rolls. It's a big reason why, despite the fact that he grabs a bunch of offensive rebounds, his teams aren't necessarily better, or rarely are they better when he's on the floor offensively. Now, he has played on some pretty shitty Jazz teams. He has played next to a playmaker who I don't even know is half of what Luka Dončić is as a playmaker. And you see this graphic right here, which kind of goes to what I was saying. Like, Luka really helps maximize already good pick and roll players. I'm not sure Walker Kessler is that, but again, this is like a idea shift for the Lakers. They need him to grab offensive rebounds and they need him to block shots, and that's what he excels at. And that's the direction that they're going. And really, I think the Kevon Looney signing is just proof of that. That we are making a noted effort to just grab a bunch of offensive rebounds. This is not by mistake. This isn't like Walker Kessler was just the center that was available. Like, this is where the direction we're going to be headed in. And in very limited minutes last year, I wanted to look this up. In very limited minutes last year, very, very limited. I mean, Kessler played 200 total minutes with a shoulder injury, which I'm not too worried about because the Jazz were tanking and he would have played last year if they weren't tanking. So I'm not too concerned about that. Keontae George and Walker Kessler, when they were on the floor together last year, the offensive rating was unbelievable. And they shot an obscene amount of threes because Keontae George was just putting that ball up there. Kessler was rebounding that ball when it was inevitably bricked, right? And then spraying it out. It works. It's good offense. I also really did like the Mamu signing. I think it's a really, really good fit. Really, really good fit. You get a player next to Luka and Reeves who could do a little bit of everything offensively, right? Big guy, legit size, can pick and pop, can pick and roll, has some playmaking chops, can spot up for three, had a few possessions last year where he was handling the ball and as a pick and roll guy. Don't know how often you'll see that, truthfully, with this group. Probably never. Pretty good in transition. And it competes a little bit defensively. I wouldn't call him a great defender, but makes plays and is a smart passer as well. All of these things are nice. These are the type of players that you want, right? Just in general. You want guys who are just smart players. They're going to make good passes. They're going to make the extra pass. They can do a little bit of everything offensively. This is a really nice get. Look at the short roll right here. Boom! You're going to get a lot of that, Mamu. Mamu, there goes that man. I also like the Zaire Williams signing quite a bit. Like, it's low key. It's a very small contract. Was it 1 year? The 1 year minimum, right? Isn't that what it is? I think this is a really nice get. Now, the unfortunate thing for Zaire Williams is the moment I hear his name, I always think of this video immediately.
Let me see what you got. Are you going home with a Zaire Williams autograph ball? Hold on to that. Thank you for playing FedEx Pickup Package.
You couldn't have told him to smile. You couldn't have asked him just to have one little smirk on his face. But here's what you are losing with Marcus Smart. Here's where Marcus Smart ranked on the Lakers last year. Pretty much the Lakers. I'll always just keep saying that. Shout out Kylian Mbappe. Unfortunate exit in the World Cup. But I'll just look how good he was defensively. He was everything for them defensively. Forced turnovers, forced steals, got stops, guarded the other team's best player. Now, Zaire Williams has turned himself into a solid defensive player who is going to positively impact the Lakers when it comes to forcing turnovers, which is something that they now obviously desperately lack with the absence of Marcus Smart. And this is going to be incredibly valuable for you. I don't know how many minutes he's going to get necessarily, but again, I think this is just a solid pickup. One thing I've shitted on the Lakers for a lot in the past is I feel like they don't make any good margin moves. This feels like a good one. What's happening? Shit's just popping up on the screen. I put Zaire Williams on and he's just forcing my computer to shit itself the way he just forced Gigi Jackson to shit himself. I don't know. These are just one of the margin moves. This is what the thing about the Lakers where I'm like, how do you swing and miss this often on some of these like low risk pickups? Zaire Williams seems like a solid bet to me. And it shows that their head at least is in the right place. And I even feel that way with their reported interest in Jonathan Kuminga. A couple years ago, I'd say, oh, this is just classic robber. This is just classic Robert Pelinka, who's just falling in love with the big name, the guy who was like a high draft pick, the guy who just has some name, his name has some cachet across the league. But Jonathan Kuminga, with all of his flaws offensively, which are still there aplenty, I feel like Luka would just want to stab his eyes out every single time you played on the floor with Jonathan Kuminga when Jonathan Kuminga started to face up for 15 seconds. Jonathan Kuminga has turned himself into a positive defensive player. It really is commendable. I mean, he was doing good stuff with the Hawks last year after the trade. Defensively, like it's stuff that he really should be commended for, and it would be a nice pickup for the Lakers if that's something that they. Do you guys notice? Am I saying the Lakers weird? Because I've been kind of stimming with the Mbappe Lakers thing. I feel like it's actually impacted the way I say it normally. Now this is where some of my praise will probably run out. I'm just not behind giving Quentin Grimes $15 million a year. I just don't really rate him in that way. I think there's a reason why some of the best Quentin Grimes we've seen in recent years has been on the Mavericks when their team went to absolute shit and on the Sixers when their team went to absolute shit. I think he's kind of had a difficult time forging a path for himself outside of that. And I think there's reasons for that. The game's just so sped up for him. He has the ball in his hands a lot. He turns the ball over a bunch. I think he's a tad overrated defensively. I just don't know if I would have gone this route, $15, $16 million a year. It kind of goes back to the original problem for the Lakers is they just backed themselves into a corner. They had to do a lot this offseason. And paying Quentin Grimes $15, $16 million a year is just a part of that. Also, like, did you have to give Colin Sexton $9 million a year and a player option? Like, you had to do that? His market was that robust? I kind of have a hard time believing that, truthfully, seeing what some of these other guards on the market got. Like, he's making more money than Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart is a far better basketball player than Colin Sexton. I think Colin Sexton stinks, okay? And God bless him, right? I do think that, okay? And it's nothing against him. I like the way that he, his energy that he plays with, but I think he's one of the worst defensive players in the sport. And I don't think that's something the Lakers should have been looking for. It kind of goes back to what I'm saying, like the departure of LeBron James. Hey, maybe it was time. It did open up this gaping hole for a third ball handler, somebody who could help lead the offense when Luka and Reeves were sitting, or if one of those guys were out, or God forbid, both of those guys were out. Colin Sexton ain't it to me, man. I don't know if there was better options on the market, but looking around the guard market at guys who got less than this, I don't think this is a good contract at all. Cam Carr's been hooping in Summer League. Maybe he's somebody who gives an immediate impact right away. I mean, he's a bit on the older side of the draftees, so he probably will get some burn right away. Can shoot threes, good athlete, will get out and run in transition. I think this is a player that has some interesting upside, even though I wasn't, super high on him in the draft, but he's gone crazy in Summer League. He looks like a legitimate NBA player. And then the Austin Reeves contract extension, it's a difficult one because, paying Austin Reeves that much money a year, it has the possibility to become crippling. I mean, there's no two ways around it, really. But once it came out, and I'll give my guy Robert Pelinka some credit here. It sounded like they were lowballing Austin Reeves, which is what they should have done. The problem was the Pistons started to move some money around and were willing to go there with Austin Reeves. And once that happened, you could not lose Austin Reeves. You could not lose Austin Reeves this offseason no matter what. That was one thing you absolutely could not let happen unless it was some strange sign and trade mechanism with like Giannis or some shit. But you could not lose Austin Reeves for nothing. So while the contract, I'm just like, meh, I don't love it. I understand you had to absolutely do that one. So by and large, this is the Lakers offseason right here. Walker Kessler, Mamu, Quentin Grimes, Colin Sexton, Jaden Hardy. I forgot they made that trade. Jaden Hardy is here. Okay, that's great. Who was it? Was it Danny Green? Danny Green on one of the Summer League broadcasts said, Jaden Hardy could be a 3-and-D guard for the Lakers. Let's go ahead and get rid of the Summer League. We don't need it anymore. We just don't need it, okay? We don't need it at all. Out LeBron James, and obviously Zion Williams is now in this mix as well. Out LeBron James, Rui Hachimura, DeAndre, and Marcus Smart, Luke Kennard, Jackson Hayes. It's tough. It's such an interesting offseason. Because, again, the reason why I'm feeling like a C is I look at it and I'm like, yeah, I actually see the direction they're headed. And obviously Kevon Looney's in this mix too, where they're putting the entire car, like fuck the car keys. They're putting the garage, they're putting the house, they're putting the deed to the car, they're putting the name of the house, the mortgage it's all in Luka's hands, right? All of it. And that's how it should be. And they're building this team around the vision of, we're going to shoot a bunch of threes. The ball's going to be in Luka's hands almost every single possession. If it's not in Luka's hands, it's going to be in Reeves' hands. And we're going to grab rebounds when we miss. And then the other guys on the floor are either going to defend, they're going to be able to shoot, or they're going to do a mix of both, right? My problem here is, man, I just don't know if this is good enough. And this is it. This is your team. You've given it all. You have one pick left to trade, right? That's it. And like, I don't know, you don't have like a lot of sexy young players that you can maybe like beef up the trade value for. This is your squad. And I'm just not sure it's strong enough. And the Lakers fans will combat that by saying, well, what else could they have done? I don't know. Maybe nothing, right? Just because I say I wasn't overwhelmed by the offseason, I thought it was just kind of a meh offseason, doesn't mean like you should have done X, Y, and Z. Maybe that was just the position you were in. And it just sucks to suck that this offseason, for whatever reason, like certain things didn't go your way. Maybe, in a different universe, there's like a Jared Allen available, and that can be your center that you go after, which I would have loved way more, right? Somebody like that becomes available, and that's who you're going after and getting, right? This one to me is just like, it's a lot of eggs in the Walker Kessler basket, and I'm just not entirely sure. What I am sure of, though, Luka Dončić is a goddamn beast. Huh? He's a beast. How about these last 36 games for Luka Dončić, huh? How about how crazy Luka Dončić went over the last 36 games of the season? What's happened? 34 points, 8 assists, 2 assist to turnover ratio, 11.5 3-point attempts per game, 40% from 3, 62% true shooting, and 2.5 stocks per game. Kevin Huerter, pick up your damn jockstrap. My God, man. This guy was on an absolute tear. And this is the pitch. This would be the entire pitch right here. This video is Luka was the best player in the world for like the last 3 months of the season. And we'll just bank on it. We'll bank on this guy doing it all for us. It's not that fair to him. I wish that in a different world, he's on a team that has spent the last 8 years building around him and has now developed an incredible team for him. But that's not the case, right? And hey, maybe this is the year. We're going to get a Luka year at some point where he's healthy and he just steamrolls through the league and wins MVP. Is this the year? The Lakers are kind of banking on it. I'm so interested to see how this is all going to play out, guys. Let me know what you guys think. This video ran a little bit longer than I was hoping to. So make sure you like the video. Make sure you download the Offside app. Link down in the description. Follow me there. A bunch of incredible social features coming to this app in the coming months before the start of the next NBA season. I cannot wait for you all to see it. Okay. Let me know what you guys think. Do you guys like these type of videos? I kind of want to do like an off-season sort of breakdown of some teams. I hope they'd be shorter, but do you guys like this? Or if you're here 26 minutes in, you must like it. Give me your thoughts. If you're still here, comment this down below. Yes, slightly. I like it.